All right, the veil has been lifted, and live from the Kenyatta University Communication Center, this is KUTV Primetime News on this 4th day of August. 4 days to the general polls. In Nairobi, it's quite freezing. The weather going about and the temperatures are up at around 20 degrees centigrade. And in Baghdad, guess this, 50%. 50 is the centigrade that is going about there. Very high, very high, very high. Daphne?
Now we have a lot in store for you tonight, but before we give you the full stories we have in store for you, let's get the highlights.
Deputy President and Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto laments over alleged state capture.
Office of the DPP lists electoral infractions to be avoided during the elections.
Kenyans express enthusiasm ahead of the Tuesday elections.
Lumanyala bags gold at the 2022 Commonwealth Games at the Alexander Stadium.
A warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Emmanuel Kutosi.
And I'm Daphne Orina, and we are in the company of Paul Wakoli, our sign language interpreter for the night.
Okay, and we kick off on a political beat tonight where Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has come out guns blazing, accusing the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party for choreographing incidents to put them in the lead in what he termed as his competitors' realization of losing the elections.
Ruto further went on to accuse the Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i and PS Dr. Karanja Kibicho, saying they have been using chiefs and local administrators to frustrate his presidential bid.
Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has come out guns blazing, accusing the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party for choreographing incidents to put them in the lead after what he termed as his competitors' realization of losing the elections. Speaking at the Deputy President's official residence before proceeding to the campaign trail, Ruto accused the state of not taking action about the hate leaflets circulating in many parts of the country, especially in Rift Valley, lamenting President Uhuru Kenyatta's late-night meetings with regional commissioners are the source of the leaflets. Ruto further went on to accuse the Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i and Permanent Secretary Dr. Karanja Kibicho, saying they have been using chiefs and local administrators to frustrate his presidential bid, this by mobilizing people to vote for his main competitor and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya flag bearer Raila Odinga.
Sometime this week, leaflets were distributed, pamphlets, warning communities. The same old stuff that has taken Kenya through a lot of pain.
DP Ruto is crying foul, alleging that his opponents are planning to block him from his mega final rally at Tononoka grounds in Mombasa, using the police to bar him from accessing various facilities. Recently, Nyayo Stadium has been at the center of controversy after Sports Kenya said that Kenya Kwanza will not have access to the stadium. Today, the UDA party temporarily secured a court order to hold their final rally at Nyayo National Stadium.
I heard some of them even say that what they are doing today is what they did in 2017. Our want to tell them two things. I was part of the Jubilee campaign in 2017. We never engaged the chiefs or public officials in our campaigns.
Ruto has urged international bodies to intervene, saying that the manner in which some of the issues raised by Kenya Kwanza coalition are being dealt with in a sluggish way. Samson Jura, KUTV.
It is an offense to apply to vote using the name of another person, whether dead or alive. That is among the misdeeds you are cautioned against in the forthcoming polls.
And with only 4 days remaining to the August 9th polls, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has listed various electoral offences that Kenyans should avoid during the elections. Listening.
Through a statement released today, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, has said that Kenyans should avoid voting twice, terming that as a serious offense. Haji has also said that giving or receiving bribes and use of force, chaos and sexual violence or threats to influence the outcome of an election are offences. The DPP added that it is an offence to apply to vote using the name of another person, whether dead or alive. Kenyans should also avoid impersonating an election official during the August 9th elections. Haji also cited that the use of public resources to campaign during elections and the use of force to compel a person to support a particular candidate or political party is wrong. Haji says that the offences can be committed by the public officers, police, aspirants for political office, organizations, agents, election officials, among others. He said that electoral justice will help enhance free and fair elections. This comes a day after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions launched an election call center ahead of the August elections. Mutweri Eliud for KUTV.
With the hot campaign period soon coming to an end, Kenyans have exuded strong interest to participate in these polls, terming it as the only chance to salvage themselves from the pangs of bad leadership.
Our senior reporter Mondi Otieno brings us to speed with the situation in the political arena, getting opinions from Kenyans concerning the Tuesday 9th elections.
The long-awaited general elections are finally here and Kenyans are up and ready to complete the 5-year electoral cycle. It is a moment when Kenyans make a crucial decision of who shall democratically represent them politically in different capacities. Many voters opine that they want change, frustrated by corruption and skyrocketing prices of basic commodities. The electorates we interacted with have vowed to turn up in the masses to voice their opinions on the ballot.
Kura ndio sauti yako. Na inafaa upige kura because unajua hii kelele watu wanapiga kelele haitasaidia. So the moment umepiga kelele na usipige kura, hiyo kelele yako imekuwa waste. So mimi nitapiga kura maana hiyo ndio sauti yangu.
So tunaangalia changamoto tumepitia. Usiende kupiga vote ati unapewa kamlunga kidogo kasupu. Vote hii ni haki yako my friend. Na enda pigia mtu kura ukijua huyu ni kiongozi ambaye anaenda kuongoza vizuri.
The commitment to participate in the constitutional process will see citizens traveling to various places where they register to cast their votes. It is an election that will feature the highest number of registered voters in Kenya's history. Amos says it was out of patriotism that he traveled from his upcountry to the city to participate in the electoral process.
I'm from Meru. I'm now in Nairobi. I took nilichukua kura yangu Dagoretti South. And it's my desire to vote. Kwa sababu usipochaguana, wale viongozi tumekataa, ndio utawapata kesho. They say your vote, it's your future.
The campaign door is soon closing with the contestants strategizing to woo more voters to their camps. Others have seemingly gone hammer and tongs at each other with insults, raising the political temperatures. The dispelling concern of most electorates remain to be peace and harmony.
On Tuesday, asubuhi saa 9 kusharauka, umechapa hiyo kura, ujue nani unapea, pia kiongozi pia uangalia. Sisi tunapatiana tu kura, ati bora mtu amekufurahisha na do, mtu sijua amekuambia ngiri 6. Hii tunatoka asubuhi ukijua ni maisha yako, ni maisha yangu, na ni maisha ya kila msee.
Ahead of the Tuesday elections, Kenyans have expressed enthusiasm in the electoral process, promising to turn out in large numbers to cast their votes for the right leaders who they strongly believe will champion for their interests. Omondi Otieno, KUTV,
Nairobi.
Thank you, Mondi Tena, for that candid report and the call for all to participate in the forthcoming polls. Now, while on a camping tour of Makueni and Mombasa counties, Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto has called upon residents of the regions not to feel pressured to vote for his rival Azimio la Umoja's Raila Odinga.
The DP stated that Odinga does not have a plan nor solutions for the problems facing them.
Deputy President William Ruto visited Makueni and Mombasa counties, where he popularized his bottom-up agenda and called upon all Kenyans to exercise their democratic right by turning up on election day and voting for leaders who are fit to lead.
Tumesema mwaka huu pesa ya serikali tutaweka bilioni 50 katika hazina ya micro and small enterprise ili tuwapatie hawa wakulima wa chini, mama mboga, bodaboda na wale wengine wadogo pesa ya serikali bila ya kuitisha interest, bila ya kuuliza security, ili tuinue biashara ya kila mtu kutoka chini kwenda juu, ile tunaita bottom up.
He went on to state that his opponents have no plan and did not know what problems Kenyans are facing, confidently stating that he is the only one who can resolve the issues facing Kenyans.
Watu wa Makueni, please, na wauliza, nimekuja hapa kusimama mbele yenu kuwaomba mkubali tutengeneze serikali ambayo itafanya kazi ya Wakenya. Mtakubali tutembee pamoja? Makueni, mtakubali?
The DP promised residents that if elected, his administration will set aside 200 billion shillings towards the leather, textile and wood industries, as well as value addition programs that will provide employment for the youth.
This year, tutakuwa na mpango maalum, Marshall Plan, ya ajira ya hawa vijana. Tutaweka bilioni 200 kila mwaka kutengeneza textile, leather, wood industry, pamoja na agro-processing, value addition, manufacturing, housing, ndio tupange ajira ya hawa vijana.
Ruto was accompanied by other Kenya Kwanza leaders, including ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi and Maendeleo Chap leader Alfred Mutua, who all backed his presidential bid and stated that Kenya Kwanza remains steadfast behind their presidential candidate.
Hawa watu wamepanic, wameshtuka, ndio wameanza kutumia machiefs, ndio wameanza kupanga mikutano, ndio wanafanya opinion polls za uongo, kwa sababu wameshtuka, kwa sababu ground imeenda na Ruto.
Kenyans have been urged to remain peaceful throughout this electioneering period. A clarion call has also been given to Kenyans to carefully vet all the leaders vying for elective posts and choose those with their best interests at heart. Irongo Kagoda, KUTV, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, the Azimio la Umoja coalition pitched camp today in Vihiga and Kisumu counties in its efforts to clinch the favor of the area's voters ahead of the 9th general elections as the campaign trail stretches.
This comes as Raila seeks to cement his presence, especially in the western region, days after he expressed disappointment of his party popularity in Ulembe Nation.
Speaking at a rally in Majengo, Vihiga County, Azimio Deputy Presidential Candidate Martha Karua has yet again attacked their opponents from the Kenya Kwanza Brigade for disrespecting the head of state while at the same time defending themselves as people's project, contrary to what their opponents say they are a state project.
Hatutaki mtu wa kutusi kila mtu. Uhuru ni mdosi wake. Kama wewe hujiondoi unamtusi nini? Sisi hatutaki nchi ya matusi, tunataka nchi ya heshima, na Waswahili wanasema heshima si. Hata shule haiwezi kuwa na headmaster wawili. Headmaster akienda parade akisema jambo moja kwa wanafunzi, deputy anasema ingine. Akienda kwa staff aseme jambo moja, deputy anasema ingine. Hiyo school inaweza simama kweli?
On his part, the Azimio presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga continued to drum up support for his Babacare manifesto and bringing development in the county that includes reviving and building of industries.
You, my people, that I want 100% turnout this time. Not a single vote should go uncast. Those who are sick, who are in wards in the hospital, go and get them, take them to the polling station to vote and take them back to the wards.
With just 4 days to the general election, the party has called on the residents to turn out in large numbers on the election day to guarantee them victory on the 9th of this month, with the last campaign expected to be held on Saturday in Kasarani Stadium. Bentura Kumbuka, KUTV.
And as that pans out, messages of peace. That is what has been flaring from Kenyans all over the country in preparation for the general polls.
That and much more after the break.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause? Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits. The road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane. Keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Sadness and invest in a laughing time, get the cash, just lifetime passing. Tell them so you love them for yourself.
Sasa ni bora zaidi, mwanzo mpya, mambo mapya. Msimu mwingine wa Boresha Kilimo unakuletea teknolojia ibuka, kilimo mseto, uongezaji thamani. Teknolojia dijitali ya mauzo inawezesha ufikiaji wa masoko. Soko moko yako, mahangaiko yako ya kufikia masoko yamefika kikomo, manake tunao Mkulima Yangu.
What Mkulima Yangu does is it connects farmers with the market.
Hii ni Boresha Kilimo kwa ushirikiano na Mkulima Yangu. Atafutaye hachoki na kichoka kesha pata. Kwa makala maalum ya kilimo Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 6:30 kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Boresha Kilimo.
Karibu kwenye mitindo ya kipwani. Yaani unavyoona basi niko kipwani pwani tu.
Unapopika inatakana uko half cooked. Tui ni nazi imekunwa, inawekwa kwa hii samaki juu. Wewe mwenyewe ukiangalia samaki mtazamaji, utaona vile inapendeza.
Niko Kilifi, niko katika kaunti ya Kilifi, magavazi ya Gede.
Samaki mwenyewe ndio huyo kidogo. Samaki kidogo iko na maajabu kwa sababu ni tumbo yake iko juu ya kichwa.
Karibu sana kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV, ukiwa nami nahodha mwendesha chombo, si mwingine bali ni bibie huwa linalonukia na kuvutia, Waridi Samu.
Stream live mitindo ya kipwani on our KUTV Facebook page every Saturday 4 p.m. What's up, people? How are you doing? My name is Katali Kenya and I will be bringing you the full party entertainment show in the 254. Talk about trending topics on the industry 411.
When these people were doing the things they've been accused of, was I there?
We're bringing you the biggest, upcoming and sizzling artists in East Africa coming through.
So then I got a call from Shafiweru. And he asked me, wewe, unataka kufanya radio ama ni nini?
Nikiwa solo artist, nilikuwa careful.
The biggest concerts and events going down in East Africa. As well as articulating youth issues that matter.
There's a lot of stress and strain that is associated with early parenthood.
This is the full pack entertainment show that you cannot afford to miss every Monday from 8 p.m. This is the Scrunch Show, and see you there.
Imagine living in a society that embraces social justice and equal opportunities for all. On Woman Crush Wednesday, Rise Today, we bring you experts for meaningful conversations on matters, gender equality.
Mimi nasaona hakuna gender equality as we speak.
So we continuously work with the men.
I feel that they're judging the girl.
Parenthood.
Mind is very important in infertility.
Mental and physical health.
You need to be surrounded by a proper network.
After nimeanza healing process, nilikumbuka kuhusu boys na senye niliacha ghetto. Like kila wakati nilikuwa najaribu kutafuta mbinu yenye naweza wafikishie ujumbe.
I feel like if you have 15 minutes, if you have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever amount of time, use it, because any physical activity is beneficial. No physical activity is dangerous for you.
And we touch on current affairs.
Marrying is a journey. It means you're taking a journey together.
I'm dying to be different. Changamoto ziko, but you can't sit there saying, oh, mimi nitafanya mziki siku yenye dozi itakampe. You look at this person and you're like, wow, they just woke up and they found themselves here.
Join us every Wednesday morning at 7 to 10 a.m. here on Rise Today Woman Crush Wednesday. I am your host, Nina Gikunda.
chakula usiku. Tuachane na break kwanza, tuende lunch. Chapo.
Rasha piga shada kuna giza. Nice to nice weke story. Kata maji pia shada liko nasio nikosa mtupo si stress. Kama rende kisha basi nipe.
Big up, brother, you are Adriba, big up, sis, big up, shows, mama, big up, oh yeah, wase wote, okay, my principal, big up.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Technovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Make a date with me, Samson Jura, every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
Alright, welcome back to KUTV Primetime News, and we do appreciate your valued company through this broadcast. And by the way, you can be able to interact with us on our social media. We are at Twitter at KUTV_Kenya, KUTV Kenya on Facebook, and we're also streaming this bulletin live on KUTV Kenya. Now, we represent a station with a youth appeal, and you can expect to see a lot of information relevant to the young and also concerning the young, alongside other of our general reports. Tonight, I'm joined by jovial company, despite the challenge ahead that I believe they will surmount, as well as to give us an opportunity to be informed. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to be part of the story of baby Elon Nyamwawa. And here in studio, I'm joined by his parents, and baby Elon is also here. So on my far right, I believe, is Elon's dad. Mr. Nyamwawa, kindly introduce yourself to the viewers.
Thank you so much. My name is Eli Nyamwawa. I'm married, a father of 3, in which Elon is the last born. And thank you for having us here tonight.
Okay, and closer to me is Mrs. Gladys Obiero, and she is holding the bundle of joy that is Elon Nyamwawa. Kindly introduce yourself to the viewers.
Okay, thank you. I'm Gladys Obiero. I'm Elon. Elon is my third born. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now in a moment we'll be talking with a doctor from India, and he'll be able to give us more about the condition that is the reason for this conversation tonight, because baby Elon is suffering from pure red cell aplasia. It's a condition that is quite rare, but one that requires treatment. And for baby Elon specifically, it will require that he goes to be treated in India. And I will go ahead and talk to the parents. I'll start with you, Mr. Eli. Like, when you realized, or when baby Elon was diagnosed to be having pure red cell aplasia, how was it for you, and how did you actually come to know about it?
Thank you so much. We first realized that Elon was suffering from that condition when he was 6 weeks old. And by then we had just taken him for the routine 6 weeks clinic. So to us, the baby was okay. And it is the nurse who noticed that there was something wrong with the kid. The kid was not okay. So I remember when we were discharged, Elon, he came 2 weeks earlier, and we were just told to watch out for jaundice. So when the nurse told us that the baby looks pale, then we thought maybe it might be as a result of jaundice, where the skin turns yellow and the eyes. So when the nurse told us to go see the doctor, that in fact even the 6 weeks vaccines he was not given. So when we went to the doctor, we were sent to the lab to do full blood count, and also we were also told to go do liver profile test, and also just to find if the liver is functioning well. So when we did, and also the level of jaundice. So when the test came out, the jaundice was within the normal level, and the liver was functioning well, but the HB level, the hemoglobin level was critically low of 4.6. So by then, the doctor just told us we be admitted for blood transfusion. So we just thought it was a one-off thing, where the baby will be transfused, we go back home and things come back to normal. But when we came, so we were given a review after 4 weeks. So when we went in December for the review, the HB level went down again because from 12.7 when we were being discharged to 7. So that's now when the doctor even thought it could be sickle cell anemia, where we did a sickle cell anemia test. By then it was 7, and sickle cell anemia test takes 4 days to come out. So we were told to come back after 4 days after the result. So when we went back, the HB level went from 7 to critical low of 5. So that's when we noticed that there must be a problem somewhere. Yeah, so that's now when more tests had to be done just to get the why is the blood level keeps on going down. So that's now when we now got a specialist dealing with the blood disorders, the hematologist. So she did a lot of tests, urine, stool tests, just to find out if there might be a way the kid might be losing blood without us knowing. So when these results were not returning anything, everything seemed normal from the tests that were done. So that's now when they decided now to go at the production and know what is happening at the production. When the blood is produced, where does it disappear to? So that's now when they did something called bone marrow biopsies, where they drilled the bone marrow and test whether the bone marrow is producing blood as required. So after that test, then that's now when the news was broken to us that we have finally found where the problem is. And the problem is that Elon's bone marrow is not producing red blood cells. And the condition is referred to as pure red cell aplasia.
Okay, now coming to the breaking of the report. Mrs. Nyamoya, in our side chat, you told me like you have other kids. Now, my question is like, how did the family take it? Because now baby Elon has just come into the world, but now we have a situation that is upon us. Maternally as a mother and the rest of the family, how did they take the information? And just tell us how they took it.
Thank you. The first time the doctor mentioned that phrase of pure red cell aplasia, this was a new phrase. I think we were like, again, come on again.
Very true,
yeah, come on again. Then she told us that it's pure red cell aplasia. It's a a rare condition, just a malfunction in the bone marrow where it does not produce red blood cells. So this was very heavy for us because we thought, okay, if it's rare, why is it happening to us? Yeah, why is it happening to us if it's rare? Then we were uncertain of the journey ahead, the medication that will be involved. All this was new to us, so it shook us because we were like, okay, this is a new thing. Being a third born, the first two, we've never had such cases, even any of them being hospitalized. So these shook us, but we thought we won't reach where we are, where maybe we are supposed to go for further treatment, because we thought it's something that the baby might outgrow in the course of his growing up. So it really shook us because it's something even amongst our friends, no one has had. People know of maybe sickle cell, leukemia, and such like, but this other one, no one was, even if we talked around with our friends or friends of friends, they've never heard of this where the body is not naturally producing red blood cells the way it ought to do. Yes.
Indeed, pure red blood cell aplasia.
Yeah.
Even to me, it was a new terminology, and even I had to research a lot to try and understand what it's all about.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Nyamoya, I'm imagining like at this situation you find yourself like there's a lot that you have to do. This condition has now come in your household. You're supposed to protect your family, and the condition is even very novel to you. Probably, I don't think you'd ever heard of it before, and it was now upon you. So my question is, now I'm going to look at the treatment process. How has it been? And currently, where are we headed in matters of treating little baby Elon to come back the way he's supposed to be?
Thank you so much. So when we first heard of the condition, of course it was new to us. It is something that we have never had before. So the baby was put on steroid because when the doctor, after getting the condition, so we were told that the baby will be put on steroid to try and stimulate the bone marrow or jumpstart the bone marrow. So that's now, the baby was put on steroid from December last year. And from December last year to date, we have been going to the hospital every 2 weeks for review. So the steroid, the baby used it in December, January, February, March. Every 2 weeks we go to the hospital for review. And then when it got to March, the blood level went down again, the HB level to critically low 5. So Elon was admitted again. He was transfused. So in March, they had to change the medication now that the steroid that the baby was on was not working. And the new medication, it had to be administered under inpatient. It was being injected directly into the blood. So there was a treatment of 4 bottles, each 1 day. So after that, now the steroid, it could not be reduced at one because the body, it was a very strong steroid and the body of the baby had gotten used to it. So it had to be reduced gradually. So maybe from 10 ml to 7.5 in a span of 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So when we changed the medication in March, so Elon stayed in April, May. When it came to June, the HB level went down again to a critical low of 4.6. So he was admitted again in June for another transfusion. So when it came to June, then that's now when the doctor realized now that the only remedy for Elon is now bone marrow transplant, because it is like he has not responded to all the medication that the doctor thought could work. And that's now where now us even accepting that Elon had to go now for treatment in India, it was not easy for us because we really thought that the medication could work. Yeah, so then now we started the journey now of going to India, where even if you are going for bone marrow transplant, you must have a donor, and the people who can donate stem cells for him are the siblings. So after that, now we started on the journey of looking for a donor. So also even doing the cross match, it is the test is called HLA typing test to find the donor. So even it was done through Lancet, but also the test could not be done in Kenya. So the Lancet took the sample and sent to Lancet in South Africa. to do the cross match and bring us the result between the two siblings who could be a potential donor. And in the course of doing that test, it was not easy because there were 3 tests and one test was 48,000. So when the result came back, it indicated that it is my firstborn, the sister, is the one who is closer to him, who could donate the stem cells for Elon. So after that now, we started now looking at, because we were referred to Apollo in India, but Apollo, there are so many Apollos in India. So we got in contact with the inquiry office here in Nairobi. Using the medical report that the doctor gave us, they sent it to India to 4 doctors. And after 1 week, we got a feedback from the 4 of them. And we settled on one on Apollo New Delhi. So when that came back, now is when we saw the elephant in the room, when the pro forma invoice was sent based on the medical report that the doctor sent. So as a family, it has not been easy, noting that we had to, from December to date, we have been going to the hospital every 2 weeks, and we start from the lab, go see the doctor, and when there's a medication, go to the pharmacy again. So it get at a point where even you exhaust your medical insurance, and now you have to start going now to your pocket. So where we are right now is now that we are in the process of now preparing now to take, because that's now the only solution for him. Otherwise, he will have to depend on blood transfusion. And even he was admitted again this week on Monday, and in fact he was discharged today. Today at around 5 p.m. and he was transfused again when the blood level was down again to 6. So he was admitted and he was discharged today. So the only way out for Elon is now bone marrow transplant. And we have been trying to look for finances because the cost is far beyond us, beyond reach. And that's why we are here, so that at least Kenyans can hear our story on about the condition that Elon is suffering from.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. Nyamoya, for that story and actually giving us the trilogy of the journey that you have been through as a family. Indeed, it has been a tough journey, I can imagine, and one that I'm seeing from the reports that you've given me that you're bracing it with all your heart. Now, it's all like a story of family, because it's like I'm seeing a family coming together to try and secure one of their own. Measures that are normal to our traditions, even as a country. We are a family. Kenya is a family. Right now we have a lot that is on our minds concerning the high food prices, the current elections that are coming up, but we are still a family, and there are other matters that affect us as Kenyans. Now, before we began this interview, I invited you to be part of Elon's story. Now, there is a pay bill number that I'm going to pledge that should you be able, you'll be able to send. The pay bill number is on your screen. It's 804-7535, and the account name is Elon. I'll repeat again. The pay bill number is 804-7535, and the account name is Elon. Be part of this family and help them, because we are a family as a country. And earlier on, I was able to have a small chat with Dr. Gaurav Karya, the doctor who will be conducting the procedure on young baby Elon in the journey to bring him up to speed, up to be okay, to come and even play with other children. I also will be following up on this story, because when he has recuperated, when he is okay, and when he has been treated, we'll be giving you a follow-up story. Take a look at this and get more concerning pure red cell aplasia. We need you to give us a brief preview on what pure red cell aplasia is all about. What is the condition all about?
So basically, pure red cell aplasia, as the name suggests, is a disease which affects primarily the red cell series of our bone marrow. So the bone marrow is the organ which produces the blood. Okay. There are various components in blood, as we know. There are red blood cells which have a different function to play. There are white blood cells which have a different function to play. And then there are platelets which have a different function to play. Okay. Now, pure red cell aplasia is a disorder where because of some either a genetic abnormality or some acquired viral infection, the red cell series, the seeds, the precursor cells which produce the red cells, RBCs, they do not function well. Okay. So such kids actually do not have functional red blood cells. So they need support of external red blood cells given from time to time to perform their necessary functions or to maintain their hemoglobin beyond a certain range. Okay. So this is what pure red cell aplasia is about. Now, pure red cell aplasia can be because of, as I said, some inherited problems, or it can be because of some acquired viral infections, or at times it can be because of some infections, usually which recovers on their own, but in certain cases, as the child or the patient is recovering from those viral infections, the red cell series somehow does not recover the way it should recover. Okay. So this is what pure red cell aplasia is about, that it is a problem which primarily affects the red cell series of the bone marrow.
And I'm also going to ask you, like, what is the diagnosis process? Because you've told me it's a disease that occurs genetically or through a viral infection of
acquired.
How is it diagnosed? How do you come up to realize that you're actually affected by the...
Yeah, so we have different set of patients. Say, for example, I have a child who's say just out of his neonatal period, all right, or maybe in the neonatal period, which is the initial first month of life, and soon after birth, say in third or fourth month, we recognize that the child is unusually pale. Pale means the otherwise the kids they're pinkish because of the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin gives them a pinkish hue. But if we notice that the child is pale, that is the first indication. And clinically, other features of anemia such as poor feeding, irritability, poor growth. So these are the usual clinical manifestations by which any parent recognizes that yes, the child is not doing well as this particular child should do. So this is what takes this kid to the medical attention. And when CBC is done as the first step to see what's happening, so in that CBC, which is a complete blood count, we can see that the hemoglobin is less. And if we look at the other parameters, we can see that the red cell series are red cells, the precursor red cells or the other red cell series, they are also less. So this is how a suspicion of pure red cell aplasia is made. Then the next step to confirm is to do a bone marrow examination and document that yes, there is some problem in the red cell series and there are not enough red cell precursors as expected for that particular age. And then this can be proven further genetically. So you do further tests to rule out your genetic etiology or your acquired etiology by a viral infection.
And I'm saying that you're a pediatric consultant, but I'll also ask you that, is it possible for the disease to manifest maybe in adults, or is it just prevalent in children?
Yeah, so adult also it can happen, but it's relatively much rare, especially if it is a genetic variant. Then it's unlikely to be manifest in the adult period, because if there is a genetic predisposition, then these kids manifest usually in the initial years of life. Okay. However, when we talk about the acquired variant, when there is some viral infection which is leading to destruction of or damage to these red cell series, then it can affect. It can happen at the later age in adults also. but I would say that that percentage is very small, very less, and usually they are self-resolving. So as the viral infection resolves, in majority of cases, the red cell series also recovers. But unlike those cases, the ones which are congenital or since birth, they persist. So there is no spontaneous resolution of these cases.
And can you take us through maybe the course of treatment, an overview? What is required so that you can be able to remedy the situation?
Yeah, so these kids actually, so there is, just like any other treatment, there are two ways of approaching it. One is sort of a supportive care, okay, by which, first of all, you need to transfuse this child, give blood transfusion so that you can maintain a hemoglobin beyond a certain range to allow optimal growth to this child. Apart from that, there are certain medicines such as steroids, which can work in certain number of patients. Okay, so you give a trial of steroids for a fairly good time, say minimum is 12 to 16 weeks, and if the child responds, this can be continued and gradually tapered to a very minimal dose, and that can be continued for a long time. But some patients either do not respond to the steroids, or they initially respond, but as soon as you decrease the steroids, again the symptoms manifest. Now, unfortunately, steroid is something which can't be given for years altogether. Okay, so it can be given for a short period of time, and then it has to be brought down to a very minimal dose, which doesn't cause any long-term side effects to any particular child. But in case that is not happening, or the child is not responding to steroids, then the only definitive cure is by bone marrow transplant. Okay. So bone marrow transplant, which we are contemplating I mean that's the standard of care for majority of our patients suffering from pure red cell aplasia. That's a modality where the objective is to replace the defective bone marrow, which is not producing the optimal number of red cells, by a normal functional bone marrow, which can be either taken from a sibling or a mother or father.
And looking at case of study, or the factor that has actually brought this conversation to be little baby Elon, there are many who may not be able to acquire such services, and I'm curious to know, is it that there are very few consultants in this arena, or why is it so hard, like, to get someone who can be able to address this condition?
So this is a very rare group of disorders, first of all. Okay. Secondly, a modality like transplant, and that too transplants for such kids for inherited diseases, is not an easy thing to handle. Okay, because these kids are like kids of 1 year, 6 months, 1.5 years. They are very, very complicated. Okay, so whenever we plan a high-end treatment like bone marrow transplant, or say liver transplant or kidney transplant, we have to plan it in a very, very meticulous way. Just because of the complexity which is involved in it, and sort of, I would like to reiterate that this is not one man's job. So it's the entire team which has to put in their efforts, including the physicians, including the nursing team, including the other paramedics. So everyone has to be on top of it. So it's a dedicated team approach which actually improves the outcomes in such patients undergoing a very complicated or a sophisticated procedure like bone marrow transplant. Now, when we talk about transplant also, so that can be of various categories. So there is an entity called as autologous transplant, which is not that complicated and can be handled by a number of people. But when it comes to allogenic transplant, where we need a donor, and that too if the donor is not HLA compatible, it's a partially HLA compatible family donor, that makes the process very, very challenging, which needs a dedicated care in a center which has expertise in managing such patients, which unfortunately are very few.
And I'm also going to ask you this, Dr. When the child has been diagnosed with this, is there like a possibility of them being discharged from the hospital without it being diagnosed? And if so, what are the conditions that even a parent can be able to look out for in their child to be able to know that there is something that needs to be addressed?
So, I mean, it's not unusual, the scenario which you're saying. Rather, I would say that's the most common scenario. Like any child of 3-4 months presenting with hemoglobin of 3 or 4 or anemia, it's not unusual. The first thing is that, okay, this child might not be feeding well. So okay, let us give him some supportive care. If required, let us give him some blood and then follow up. So that's how the first interaction with such patients is. Usually with the supportive measures, whatever you give, these patients, majority of patients, if it is anemia because of the nutritional factors, they respond and either they don't come back to you or when they come back, their hemoglobin is back to normal. But unlike that, these patients, if a patient is not responding to the supportive care given and the hemoglobin levels again fall down after say 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that means something is wrong. To rule that out, what is required is to look in the bone marrow, that what is wrong. Is the bone marrow functioning normally, or there is some problem in the bone marrow which is not letting the red cells being produced as expected. So that's how these kids come to the clinical attention. So first interaction most of the time is just usual anemia. They are given symptomatic treatment and then discharged. But if they come back after 4 weeks with similar problem, that's the time when the clinician gets alerted that this doesn't appear to be the usual case of anemia and needs a little bit more evaluation.
Okay, that will be all, Dr. Karia. Thank you for giving us your time, and we'll be able to follow up and see how baby Elon gets on during and after the procedure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you, and a very good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed, that was a breakdown by Dr. Gaurav Karia on pure red cell aplasia, a condition that baby Elian Nyamwaya is suffering from, and is calling out for you to be able to assist him. And I hope as a family that we are, as the Kenyan people, will be able to look into how we can be able to assist this young Turk to come out to be the star that he is. Thank you to the Nyamwayas for that story, and also for you for agreeing to be part of this report.
Well, we leave it at that for tonight's bulletin. Thank you so much for being part of us, for joining us. And as we leave you, we tell you to remember to vote peacefully and wisely and keep warm. My name is Daphne Orina.
And I'm Emmanuel Kutosi. In the sign language interpretation, we were sailing through with Paul Wakoli.
Have a good night.
Peaceful night.